Hello, scrappers, recyclers, and everybody that's interested in the world of scrapping and recycling. Welcome to Shark Scrapper Live, where every week we talk about precious metals, industrial metals, safety, things that revolve around our awesome world of recycling and scrapping. It's great to be here. I look forward to having a awesome stream with everybody. Let's see, who all do we have in the house right now? We've got David File, Georgia Dog Scrapper. Welcome, welcome. Roger at CU Scrapping. Great to have you here. Irish, the Scrapping Irish is here. Folks in here saying hello on the chat so far. Great to have everybody on board. All right, I think we're caught up with saying hi to folks that have dropped some comments. So it's great to be here. I know we had a little bit of a late start. Hey, truck fan, great to have you here. A little bit of a late start. We had a little hiccup here with EV Mux. It happens sometimes. That's the joy of live streaming now, isn't it? Sixth Street Garage, welcome, welcome. All right. Well, we have got a lot of fun stuff to talk about today. We're looking at what's going on with the world of silver. And we will be looking at aluminum. And then we have two steel companies to take a look at. So really should be a really interesting discussion here. And without any further ado, let's jump right into silver. So we're starting out on the APMEX website. Now, remember, I am not sponsored by APMEX. I get nothing in return. It's just a site that I happen to use frequently when I buy and sell my physical gold and silver. I always recommend that people have a certain amount of physical gold and silver in their portfolio. And I always discourage having paper gold and silver because those paper certificates frequently aren't worth the paper they're written on. So physical gold and silver that you hold in your hand is the way to hold gold and silver. There are plenty of other sites that are good. JM Bullion and those folks. It's just I've been using APMEX, and so that's what I grabbed. So let's take a look here. We've got silver spot price at 31.39. And unfortunately, that is going down here. Now, that's the 1 week chart. Let's take a look at the month. And if we push the right buttons, we will have the month come up. The month is also down overall. You can see if we draw the line from here to here, we see that for the month, we are down overall. We had a little bit of a climb out here for a while, and then around the 20th, it started dropping off again. So what do we get for a bigger picture? Here's the 3 month. 3 month, shows us some more interesting occurrences. We had a nice climb, dropped off, made a slow, steady climb to a near peak at 33. And then this was that drop off we were just talking about that's taken us into what's going on right now. Year to date. So ever since the 1st of January, we're seeing this climb out looking pretty good here, dropping off again. That's, the drop off here is, I wouldn't get too terribly concerned about it at this stage. There's a lot going on in the world. The 1 year, so, going back 365 days, we see a lot of variability going on here in the price of silver. Silver is that interesting metal because it is a precious metal, but it's also an industrial metal. And so you have a certain percentage of silver that is bought, sold, traded for investment purposes, silver coin, silver bullion. And then you have silver that is used in industrial applications. Solar panels is a very good example. And I don't know if anybody caught Ewace Ben's video today. He scrapped out a Starlink satellite receiver, and it had some really big knocking silver mylars inside there. So there's silver that is used in industry, and then there's the silver that's traded. So let's go take a look and see what Trading Economics has to say about silver here. You all know that I like to also look at Trading Economics because they provide some interesting insight and discussion. They're talking about how silver extended the loss below 31 an ounce on the weekly decline of nearly 4.6%. And it's pressured from demand uncertainties. Okay, that's going back to the your industrial uses, strong supply, and a firm dollar. So and they're investors are digesting these various reports that come out that they like to use to decide what they want to do for their portfolios and what they want to do with their investments. And then, of course, we have the tariffs that the current U.S. administration is going to impose on the 4th of March, and what the impacts that is going to do to the U.S. economy and the global economy. So things are very uncertain at this point. And investors hate uncertainty. They really do. And silver, it doesn't always behave the way gold does with uncertainty because it has multiple applications beyond just a safe haven for money. Let's take a look real quick at the candlestick charts and just to get a sense, a feel for what's going on. Let's zoom in here to these later stages. And, what's interesting is you see that when the prices were going up, they had nice big green candlesticks. When they're coming down, they got a bunch of shorter red candlesticks. So that shows that we had this big spike in prices here, but then it incrementally was dropping off as the time period passed. Had some climb up, then a bunch of falling going on again here. These climbs here were representative of what had been going on here since. If you see here, here's 2025. So here's January-ish in 2025. We see prices, fits and starts, but generally climbing. And now we see just a lot of dropping off here in the recent past. So it's dropping off, and we'll see where that takes us. We're going to go back over here to a line chart, and then we're going to go to the forecast interval and see what they're saying. Now, remember, with this chart, when we look at the forecast, what we're looking at is this part right here. This gray line going up here is the investors, the folks at Trading Economics, that they look at a lot of the stuff that's going on and they say, here's what we think is going to happen with the price of silver. They at least have some informed processes that they use for making these decisions. And basically they're saying that they expect that silver will trade around 34.43 in the period in the year ahead. So nothing super fantastic going on here during the year, but still a climb. If you really want to take the chance and you feel like you that you're okay with making a little bit of money, then maybe you go ahead and buy some silver. So 34.44. Let's go back here to our summary statement back here. Where are we at? We're at 31, just over 31. So if it got over 34-ish, you'd make, you stand to maybe make $3 an ounce. You got to turn quite a bit of silver in order to recover an investment at this stage, and there's no guarantee you're going to get to that 34. I am not buying any silver right now. I do have a lot of silver mylars, so I might mess around with trying to get some of the silver out of the silver mylars, but I'm not going to be buying any silver right now. I'm not going to sell my silver either. I'm just going to stay pat where I'm at right now. Because, well, why not? There's no reason for me to sell it at this point. I don't need it. And there's also no reason for me to be buying it because, well, the price is a little too rich for me to buy right now. All right, so what are you all doing with silver? Let's see if anybody made any comments about silver while I was going through. Still got a lot of folks joining us and saying, hey, we got that's right. Recycling has joined us. Patrick Williams has joined us. Georgia Dog, I think I already said hello. I think we said hello earlier. So, all right. Well, nobody seems to be talking about silver, so that's cool. Um, oh yeah, here Roger's talking about the silver mylars from Ben this morning. Yeah, Ben, that was. I mean, not Ben. Yeah, Roger, that was quite an interesting video. If you haven't seen it yet, it's interesting because Ben scrapped. This is e-waste Ben in Australia. For those of you that might not know who we're talking about, he scrapped out a receiving antenna for a Starlink system. Pretty fascinating to me because back when I was in the Navy, I was pretty involved in phased array radar. So it was really interesting to see what a small phased array receiving antenna looks like these days compared to what I was used to. And, there were some nice silver mylars in that thing. The board wasn't anything to get terribly excited about, but if you're into silver mylars, boy, howdy, there were some nice silver mylars in there. Mike's Meltdown is making a really good comment about silver. Understanding the premiums. You really, 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 really want to look at the premiums because those things can eat you alive. If you let's real quick, let's go back to APMEX and let's just look at silver and let's say if you wanted to buy, we're going to go with Perth Mint, since we were talking about Australia. And you go here and let's just say you wanted to buy one of the new kookaburras, and you're looking at the prices for the kookaburras. Well, you're at 37.38 if you're buying 1 to 19 and you're paying with a check. So that difference, that 37.38 versus what's going for spot right now is your premium. And you can see here where they talk about as low as $4.99, almost $5 over spot. And in order to get that low, you need to buy a larger quantity of them. Usually with things like rounds and the coins and stuff, the more you buy, the lower the premium is going to be. So let's see if we went with American Eagles. Oh, what are they talking about for spot here for the 25s? Also $4.99, so $4 premium there. What if we just went with some generic rounds? So let's see. Silver rounds, 1 ounce, silver 1 ounce rounds. And let's just pick one that somebody will recognize here. Pimp. Let's just grab one of theirs. For 29 per pound for spot. So always pay attention to this premium because that premium can really make or break any transaction that you do when it comes to silver. Or gold for that matter. I mean, any of the precious metals. And when you're buying, something like an eagle or a kookaburra or something like that, you're going to pay a higher premium, when compared to just generic rounds or bullions or something like that. All righty. Well, that was a fun discussion on silver. We're going to shift now into our safety aspect, our safety discussion. And I thought what might be interesting is since it has such a huge influence in in what we do, I want to take a real quick look at what's happening from the weather right now. Now, of course, I can't cover the weather around the world, but we're going to take a look real quick at here in the United States. So here we are today, Sunday. I draw your attention to this low here. And if you really want to hear a great discussion, go check out Ryan Hall, y'all. Excellent discussion of how this is going to play out. And again, he is, from one meteorologist to another. I really like his channel. His discussions are spot on, and there isn't a lot of hype, but he does give you a really good feel for what's going to play out. And then when there is severe weather of some sort, he's right in there with storm chasers and linking into the cameras and traffic cams and all this kind of stuff, so you can see right away what's going on. Anyway, here in the U.S., this low pressure system is important to watch, because as we go into tomorrow, Monday, we see that it's moved up here. We start to see what's going to be the potential for severe weather in here. We've got warm, moist air coming up from the Gulf of Mexico, feeding into the central U.S. We've got all this cold air coming in behind it. When those two things collide, we end up with the makings of good severe weather storm system kind of stuff. Plus you get snow and rain, snow back where it's cold enough for snow, rain where it's warm enough. And then as we go into Tuesday, there you go. There's our severe weather impact. And it's just going to, as this system moves across the U.S., you're going to see snow and rain up in the, up here in the colder latitudes, severe weather down in the southern states. So you really want to pay attention to this. Depending upon where you're located, you've got some weather coming your way. But I will let you go check out Ryan Hall later on after the stream is over and get that information for yourself. The real thing that I wanted to focus on with today's safety is, and I actually brought some fun tools here to use. So we're going to, let's see, stop it. Okay, so gloves. Gloves are such an important part of our safety, our PPE. And we have, of course, one of the favorites that a lot of people will use. This is a, whether you're using nitrile, neoprene, plastic, you want to get the right type of glove for chemical and water wet protection. Some are, you don't want to have around certain chemicals because those chemicals can eat right through these. Others are fine. I always keep a box of these around, whether I'm working, if I find something that's oily or if it's got a lot of paint on it or that kind of stuff, I will put these on to protect my hands, especially when there's chemicals involved. And then the next thing you got to do is you got to say to yourself, well, what if there's sharp objects? I mean, if this gets cut, it's not going to protect you, right? So the other thing you can do is put a glove either over this one, or you have gloves like this. Now, this part is rubberized. This part is not. So chemicals will soak through the nylon backing. But this part, you will have some protection. So if you're not worried about, you're being immersed in any of the chemicals, you just don't want to get paint on your fingers or oil on your fingers and stuff, a glove like this can be the thing to go with. You can even put a glove like this over a glove like this, and now you've got really good protection, because this will give you more protection against sharps. You usually see me wearing a green. The nylon part is green and this is gray. That's what I have in the shop. I don't know why I have these here at the house. Not quite sure what that's all about. Anyway, really good gloves. These also give you quite a bit of dexterity. Really, you can feel things pretty nice with these. Some of them are even designed so that when you use your cell phone, the cell phone will be able to recognize your fingers tapping on it and stuff. Now, the other type of protection that you need to have, really heavy duty gloves when you're around things that can really cut you bad or cut through things. And you can always put your rubber glove on and then put the big heavy one over top of it. You can see this one has had a good life already. Now, these leather kind of gloves, they give you much better cut protection, but you sacrifice a certain amount of dexterity and feel when you're in these heavier gloves. If I'm cutting wood, like I was earlier today, I want a glove like this. I don't have to be as delicate. I don't have to feel things as close. I'm protecting myself against the thorns and the sharp shards of wood and the splinters, and well, the chainsaw is going to cut right through this if I do something really stupid. But you want that extra protection that a glove like this will give you. Plus, I always keep a pair of these gloves in the truck, in the Sharkmobile, because if I'm loading or unloading scrap, there's lots of sharp edges, and this will really protect me against those sharp edges just from general handling of scrap. So very useful type, and there's the different varieties of gloves that you want to have. By the way, these are also good for cleaning up after your dog if you have one. Yeah. Or you can just turn a plastic bag inside out. Now, if you are concerned about, what is the right type of glove to wear for the right purpose, there are places where you can go, like OSHA, and you can see where gloves are recommended and not recommended. Now, this particular page, I thought this was pretty interesting because here we talk about, here's nitric acid, which is a common chemical that's used, for refining gold and such. Nitric acid. So neoprene gloves are good. Latex and rubber gloves are fair. Butyl and nitrile are fair. But if you look at fuming acids, all right, so fuming acids tend to be those that, that are much stronger concentrations. All of the gloves are rated as poor, so you're pretty much screwed. I mean, there just isn't a whole lot that's going to protect you there. So maybe, have really, really thick rubber gloves. So when it starts eating away at the rubber glove, you can always take it off. Anyway, this is a really cool kind of page to get. This is OSHA, the website, just OSHA.gov. And it tells you, it gives you this rating of the types of glove against what what you'll be handling. And it also has other pages in here. If we scroll up, it'll talk about fabric coated gloves, what they're good for, leather, canvas, metal, mesh. If you're doing a lot of cutting and you cut yourself a lot, Ian Matthews, you want to have maybe a steel mesh glove on, the gloves are really important part of our PPE. I wholeheartedly encourage folks to make sure you have gloves ready. Just get a few pair and have them laying around your shop. Like I said, I always have a pair of the heavy leather gloves in the Sharkmobile. There's usually some nitrile gloves in the Sharkmobile as well, but it's not, it's not guaranteed. But I will always have a good set of heavy leather gloves in the Sharkmobile for when I'm loading and unloading. At the shop, I have the combination of the nylon gloves with the palms and the nitrile gloves, as well as heavy duty gloves, because I have to be able to switch to the right kind of glove depending upon what I'm working with. So, what are you all talking about when it comes to gloves here? Let's go through. Yeah, David Carl, acid proof gloves made out of glass. A little hard to bend, maybe. Oh man. Yeah. Oh man. Let's see what other stuff is going on with gloves here. Uh, Mike's meltdown is talking about welders gloves are great for melting. Yep, yep. And I actually have um, a uh, what that I procured this stuff in preparation for doing some melting, and they're very heavy duty leather gloves, and they have a sleeve that comes partway up my arm, so that I've got that protection on my arm as well from splatters and stuff. So yeah, that's definitely something to think about. Um, Scrapping Irish is saying, scrapping on the fly is saying, knife proof, not razor blade proof. And actually, this glove, you could stab through this glove. You know, if it's a pointed blade, it would stab through probably, especially as worn down as this one is. Um, but it's that accidental slice across that you want the protection from. Razor blades, very sharp, would cut, would very likely cut through. But they would give you a little better protection anyway, a little bit more protection than just your own skin. And I know there's a lot of folks out there that they don't like to wear gloves. They say it hampers their ability to feel what they're doing and stuff. The proper glove won't be as restrictive. And yes, there's a lot of stuff that can still cut through the glove, but you'll get a lot less damage if you're wearing gloves than if you're not. Even if you have, heavy calluses and stuff on your hands, your skin is not going to be as good at protecting you as a set of gloves. Plus, just think of the gloves as extra skin to protect you. So um, that's right. Recycling is saying that he just ordered some more gloves. They're knife approved. um, yeah, the other thing that I'm doing here. I don't know if you saw it when you came into this live stream or not, but YouTube has now allowed me into another program that they have. So you'll start to see on my videos and my live stream products that I've tagged. And these aren't there. You may occasionally see shark scrap or merch tagged in there, but what I'm going to focus on tagging in my videos are tools and things that I'm either using in that video or that are important for the work that we do. Pretty cool program from YouTube that allows me to tag a product from Lowe's or Acme Tools, Target, Walmart, and it's an affiliate kind of thing. But YouTube has already negotiated the affiliate relationship. So when you click on the tag and you buy, say, safety gloves using the link that shows up somewhere in the video, I'll get a little bit of a commission, and you get what's supposed to be a good price on the product. You could probably still find things cheaper on Amazon, which is why I still have an Amazon store that you can always go to um, and buy stuff from there. But I just thought it was a really cool program that YouTube has that allows me to help you get these tools when you see them, because I know what early on when I was doing this, it's like I'm watching and I'm like, oh man, I need to get a pair of that kind of cutter, that kind of edge cutter or cable cutter or something. And then by the time I'd get done watching 3 or 4 videos, it would like completely forget that I wanted to go get that cutter until the next time I had a bunch of wire that I wanted to cut. So it makes it real easy for you to go ahead and order the stuff right then when you see it before you forget about it. So be looking forward to those in my videos moving forward. And if you use them, great. Thank you. I thank you in advance. If you don't, and you have other less expensive ways to get the tools, hey, I get it. I understand. No issues there. All righty, TJ, welcome. What's up? We're doing our thing here, man. That's what's up. All righty. So now that we have talked about the weather and we've talked about our PPE, let's get to our industrial metal discussion, which for today is aluminum. Um, we see right here that aluminum futures fell to 267 per ton from a 9-month high. As bets that the U.S. government may relax some sanctions on Russia eased growing concerns for low supply. Interesting. That's very interesting because, yeah, Russia is a huge producer of aluminum, Russia and China both. And so if the current administration decides to relax restrictions on Russian aluminum, that would have the effect of lowering prices. And it'll be interesting to see because it'll be a mixed bag because they will be having, and then the question is, will the tariffs, because the tariffs that have been announced that are supposed to go into effect on the 4th of March, those tariffs are on aluminum across the board. And so then the question becomes, would Russian aluminum have the same tariffs as everybody else? And then the other things that's going on is you've got the EU that is saying they're going to put more restrictions on Russian aluminum, and China is actually going to start cutting back a little bit because they've had too much aluminum into the market. So, yeah, weird stuff going on with aluminum right now. And you can kind of see that if we look at this is the 1-year chart. And you can see we had this drop off. And then around July of last year, aluminum started coming back up. And now what you can see is that aluminum has been back and forth across this. If you can see this line right here, this 2607. Here, let me do this. So you can see this line right across here. You see where aluminum has been back and forth across that line, and there's no reason to that you are going to be able to say, oh, this is going to drive prices up or this is going to drive prices down. But having said that, let's see what the folks at Trading Economics thinks is going to happen with aluminum. Well, they're thinking that the price of aluminum is going to go up. Why are they saying that it is going to go up? Oh, they don't really give us any good. They don't explain why they think it's going to go up, and that's unfortunate. Usually they'll give us at least some idea of why they think aluminum prices are going to climb. If you think about it, you've got if the U.S. is putting tariffs on aluminum that's coming in, and we don't have as much capacity as we probably should to produce our own aluminum, so that's going to drive prices up. And you know what? That's a good thing for us in the scrapping world because when we see this kind of stuff go on, then we can expect the price of our scrap aluminum to go up as well. I read an article this week where Coca-Cola is so concerned about what's going to happen with aluminum that they are shifting to more plastic. That doesn't do our environment any good, does it? I mean, aluminum cans are infinitely recyclable. You drop a can off at a scrap yard, and chances are within 30 to 60 days, it's another aluminum can. But if Coca-Cola is forced to shift to plastic bottles because of the uncertainty in the aluminum market, that means there's going to be a whole lot more plastic trash out there that does not get recycled, even though, a lot of places have recycling centers where you can bring your plastic bottles back to. But it's, they don't, it's hard to recycle plastic containers the way they recycle aluminum containers. So yeah, that's going to be some interesting stuff going ahead. But I think for the bottom line for us is this should be good because we should see our aluminum scrap prices continue to rise, which is cool. Um, I, I got some aluminum to take into the yard. I might give it a week or so and see what the prices do. Uh, because we are out in the mountains up here in Western North Carolina, we don't respond as quickly to price changes, say, as we would have when I was in Jacksonville, Florida. So maybe I'll give it a week or so and we'll see what happens with with the uh, with the price for the aluminum. Could be kind of cool. All right. Anyway, what kind of comments have you all had um, on the aluminum market? Let's see. What do we got going on up here? I'm going to go up to. I'm going up here to see what we have, what comments are being made about aluminum. Oh, we got some folks saying hello, and some more folks saying hello, and more folks saying hello, and um, HH Recyclers and the Illuminati are the only ones that I don't think they really care much about aluminum. Irish is saying that the biggest aluminum refinery in Europe is in Ireland. Very cool. That's very cool. Um, Georgia Dog is hoping that the aluminum prices go back up because he has quite a bit of it to take in. Very cool. Um, and William is accusing me of mixing open loop and closed loop recycling. I don't really get into a lot of those kind of details. There's a lot of nuances to whether you want to call it open loop, closed loop, where that's going to come in. So I just sort of keep recycling on a more generic level in recycling. But hey, it's certainly something we could look at someday if we want to really dig into that hard and fast. Best to go back to glass. So, TJ, you bring up a really important part about glass containers. One of the reasons why uh, the the world kind of moved away from glass. I mean, you still have a lot of glass containers out there, and glass does a great job of protecting the stuff that's in it, and it doesn't, cause you don't have potential for flavoring. Like if you get water in a plastic bottle, sometimes it has that plasticky taste to it. So glass is very inert. I mean, it's used for acids and things like that because it is so inert to the product that is inside of it. But glass is also heavy and glass breaks. And so the way that you try to prevent your glass beverage containers from breaking is to use thicker glass, which means it's heavier. And if the glass is heavier, that means the transportation costs go up. So one of the things that the plastics industry did after World War II, when they were trying to convince the world to shift to plastics, um, was they made a really big deal about the safety of plastic. There were even commercials out there where you'd have them dropping glass bottles and saying things like, "Do you want your children around this?" Where they could drop a plastic bottle and it wouldn't shatter, and those kind of things. And there's no argument that plastic can be safer under a lot of those circumstances. I agree with you that glass is, I like the taste of sodas out of a glass container. To me, it just, there's something about it. They just taste better. Beer tastes better coming out of a glass container than it does an aluminum can. But there are the trade offs of recyclability and transportation costs. Now, glass can be recycled, absolutely. It usually has to go through a sorting process for colors and stuff. It's all manageable. But yeah, I'm with you. I like the taste of stuff that comes out of a glass bottle more than I do an aluminum can or a plastic container. Yeah, just it's a good point. Thanks for bringing it up, TJ. I'm glad you brought that up. Roger's taking his aluminum in tomorrow. Um, Ed, how you doing, man? I don't think I said hello yet. 88 cents a pound for 6063 clean. Very cool. Very cool. It's also saying that all aluminum is up in East Tennessee area. All right. Well, I hope to see maybe I'll see some price increases here in Western North Carolina too. Then that would be nice. Everyday Solars, welcome to the show. Great to have you here. Let's see. Looking for some more aluminum comments. Well, that was a good discussion of aluminum, and we'll see how this plays out. But it might be a time to hang on to aluminum. Give it another week or so and see what happens to the pricing. Unless you just need to take it in and you know and get the because you need the cash flow. All right, so the two companies that we're going to talk about for our stocks today, and it just so happens that this week's edition of the Value Line. And for those of you that don't know, this is what I use when I do a stock analysis. Value Line Investment Survey. They take absolutely no advertising. It's all subscription based. So their analysis is just numbers and pure analysis of what the numbers are saying, and of course what the companies are saying in their required SEC filings and such that are out there. So that lack of bias gives me quite a bit more assurance in the information that they're promoting or that they're giving us. So it makes for a really interesting look at the companies. Now they analyze the steel companies, and we're going to look at two steel companies here. Before we do that, I real quick wanted to just take a real quick look at the steel prices. One of the things that you'll notice, this is steel rebar in yuan, so Chinese yuan. If you want to convert that to US dollars, right here, this line right here is about 450 US dollars per ton. So you keep that in the back of your head as you're looking at this chart. The actual chart is pretty much the same. What you see is that steel prices climbed up a little bit, and then they've just been bouncing around this level, bouncing around this 450 level here, ever since. So, you've got a lot of things that are playing into steel, and that's going to play into the companies that we're going to look at. Steel is one of those things that countries have been going after each other for a lot of years. There have been tariff wars. There have been tariff back and forth. There have been, lots of issues, and there's nothing new about that in the steel market. So on top of the challenges of, where you have very low labor cost, where you can produce a lot of cheap steel, and then countries that need the steel but have higher labor costs, putting tariffs as it's coming in. On top of all that, you have you need to have a consumer demand to use that steel. Infrastructure improvement, buildings, those are the kind of things that you really, if you're not building a lot, then you don't need a lot of steel, and that can also have a huge impact on the prices. And so China has got some challenges because what's going on in their economy, they're not building as many big buildings and things of that sort, so their demand is decreased. Here in the U.S., our demand has gone down some. So you really need to. There's so many factors involved with what's going to happen, and so the prices tend to, be up and down a lot. Let's see, what are the forecast for steel here is to actually drop. So that is also very telling as we look at these two companies here. If the prices are dropping, that doesn't bode well for shareholder value and such. And the other thing to keep in mind is that here in the United States, our mills are operating at roughly 75% capacity. So what that, so let's think this through. We've got about 25% more that we could do with our own mills in order to meet our demand. And the U.S. demand signal is somewhere around 91.5 million metric tons annually. We produce about 6.7 metric tons. So if we max out our production, we're going to make 8 to 9 million metric tons. So that's way below the demand signal. So that would suggest that we're still going to be importing a lot of steel. And that means, and you all know the way tariffs work. When a company imports something and there's a tariff on it, the importing company pays a tariff. Then they pass that charge onto the consumer. And so it's a tax on consumers is kind of what happens. Now, the idea behind this is that industries, in this case, in the United States, would make more mills, create more steel to balance out that, because they could become more competitive. But you don't make a steel mill overnight. I mean, it could take a long time to make a steel mill. And will the consumer put up with the increased cost of the steel long enough to allow more capacity to come online? And then is there a long-term demand to have that capacity in place? If the tariffs get balanced out sometime in the future, do you then run into a situation where the steel companies are making way more steel than they need to? So it's a pretty complicated problem, very complex. And we're gonna live through how this plays out here for a while. So, and these two companies that we're going to talk about are right in the thick of it. So the first company that we're going to look at here is CMC Commercial Metals. They are giving a yield of 1.4%. That's not great. And that's on $52.50. Now, the valid time here is the 28th of February, so it's a couple days old. But you all recall, it's been a while since we've done a stock analysis. So I always look back for the last 17 years. What I want to see before I invest in a company is 17 years of increasing cash flow per share, earnings per share, or dividends per share. And what we can see here in the dividends per share, because I tend to be a dividend investor more than anything else, we can see that CMC is not qualified because they did not pay dividends for a long time. Now, when they did start paying dividends, they they were climbing, so they're technically not qualified. Um, but there are a major company to be to consider. They are a world leader in recycling, production, and fabrication of steel products. They have a North America group, they have a Europe group, they have an emerging business group. So they're a global business, and this makes it pretty interesting. When you're in a global situation like these steel companies are, and you're moving material back and forth, and you're dealing with the politics and the taxation and such. I can just imagine how interesting these board meetings and the meetings of their leadership must be. Um, so they're 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 doing okay, but they've got some challenges here with the price of steel. And the article in the discussion in the Value Line brochure talks about some of these challenges and the negative consequences on their share price and such, which you can very clearly see right in here. The other company is one that folks also will probably recognize. Excuse me. If we push the right buttons, you'll recognize it. Excuse me. Nucor. Nucor is really a pretty interesting company because they kind of took a very different approach to the steel market when they came into existence. It's one of the reasons why they were able to grow and do and compete against the old stodgy U.S. steel. And they are qualified for consideration because they are Div Zero. So that means for the last 17 years, they've been increasing their dividends per share. Not a lot, but they've been increasing it. They're offering 1.6%, but that's on $137.70 a share. So that's kind of expensive. Man, I got a real tickle in my throat. But this is interesting about Nucor. As I read about Nucor, manufacturer of steel and steel products, hot rolled steel, things like angles, rounds, flats, beams, pilings, billets, cold finished bars, joists, deck. Um, uh, they primarily, their hot rolled products are made from scrap, utilizing electric furnaces. And that is what is so cool about Nucor is that they are a huge consumer of scrap metal. And so here in the United States, probably a lot of the scrap metal that we have is going to a Nucor plant somewhere because their electric furnaces are designed to handle that scrap. Their shares have reacted favorably to what's going on with the tariffs and the protections that are in place. But what I also thought was interesting is that Nucor is kind of branching out into adjacent industries. So they have a group that is called Nucor Data Systems. And what they do is they make the steel cabinets and frames that data centers require, because data centers are popping up all over the place. And so Nucor is making the frames and structures that go into those data centers. That is kind of an interesting approach. Nucor also has a branch, Nucor Towers and Structures, and their focus is making the piece parts for cell towers and electric towers, an infrastructure kind of side of the business. So whereas usually a steel company just makes the steel and sells it to the businesses that then turn it into things, Nucor is investing in and has parts of their company that are making the things. So what that would suggest to me is that Nucor might be one of those companies that you should consider investing in, even though their dividend yield is not that great. Now, what the folks at Value Line are saying is that the equity is a timely choice. That means that they think the stock prices will go up, so it's a good time to buy. Their profit cycle is turning up, in large part from the tariffs and the earning visibility they bring. They could see a decent trade as well as a solid upside to the midpoint of the 18-month target. So what they're saying is that if you bought now, in nine months or so, you probably will be able to make some good money when you sell. So if you are a trader, a stock trader, and not a long-term investor, Nucor might be someone you want to take a look at. So, and even aside from that, even if you're just a long-term kind of investor, the stock dividend is not great, but the company itself is one of those companies that has really good, solid roots and foundations. I don't know if you've ever read the book Good to Great or Built to Last, but Nucor features prominently in the discussions of those books about the way they came into the industry and the approach that they take. Something to consider there. I am not going to be buying Nucor. I like to be very transparent with those kind of things. I am not buying Nucor right now. I have a tremendous amount of work to do to get my business up and running. I have a lot of investments that I need to make in capital equipment and such for my recycling business. So I'm not going to be buying any stocks in these things because I'm pretty much rolling every penny I make back into the company right now. And on my personal investment side, there's just we just moved here. There's a lot of things that I still need to spend money on here, so I still need to keep my cash flowing accordingly. So not a whole lot of investment going on the shark scrapper side. Let's see. What have you all had to say about what's going on with steel, or just as we get ready to wrap things up here? Oh, Georgia Dog's been busy. 3 loads yesterday. Awesome, dude. That is great. Um, Mike's bringing up a good point here that it's the tariffs may incentivize folks during their administration, but what about the next administration? When we have another election cycle, how is that going to play out? So those are the kind of things that boardrooms at these big companies, that's the kind of stuff that they mess around with all the time. They map out, they war game these scenarios, to try to decide what their long term strategies and investments should be. And one of the things that big companies hate is uncertainty in the markets because then they don't know which direction they should be making their investments. So, Mike, that's a really good point that you bring up there. All right, everybody. Well, it has been an awesome hour. Hard to believe that the hour is over already, but it is time for us to head across the pond to Ireland. Now, if you have autoplay enabled, when I shut the stream down, you will be automatically redirected to Ireland, where you never know who's going to come up on the panel. You never know where the discussion is going to go because Scrapping Irish always has a much more free flowing kind of feel and vibe with his live stream. We can continue stuff we've talked about here. We can bring up brand new stuff. We'll just see how that one plays out. It has been an awesome hour talking with you all, and I look forward to seeing you over in Ireland. If I don't see you over in Ireland, have an awesome week. Stay safe. Get yourself a pair of gloves.